Well, I want to thank everyone for joining us today for our first 11th grade networking meeting. For those of you that may not know me, my name's Amy Ravanesi. I am the networking co-chair with Jen Laddick, who is on as well. We are super happy today to have Sue Carroll, who is the College and Career Center Coordinator, and Ann Vernon, one of our guidance counselors, here to talk to us today about the college road trip. We also have our grade administrator, Christy Carrera, with us. So that's great. And Bill is on too, as he said. So we are, talking about the college road trip, and we're super happy to have Sue. So with that, I'll let Sue begin.
Hi, I'm happy to chat with all of you this morning, as I know Ann is also. This will be super casual, so if you have any questions, pop them in the chat or the Q&A. This will be my 19th time talking about the college road trip. And the name comes about from when it actually was a college road trip, when we actually had Columbus Day off, and you would make it a three or 4 day weekend, and you would go from regional college to regional college. And that, of course, has changed mostly because of COVID. A couple of things before I start that, though, I encourage you to, maybe if Ann even wants to show the web page, I encourage you to spend some time on the school counseling webpage, because there's so much good information there, including the College and Career Center's Twitter feed. And you can also find that on the high school website also. If you don't have a Twitter account, I encourage you to create one to stay away from politics, but to find out good information about college information, financial aid, things that are important to teenagers by following the College and Career Center on Twitter, and also on Facebook also, when Facebook is working. Let me be your reader for you. And I post really good articles, talk about youth employment, things like that. And we'll get to that in a second when Ann shares the screen.
Actually, Sue, I am not able to share the screen. It says participant unable to share the screen.
Oh, okay. Well, I encourage you to go to the New Canaan High School. Yeah, to go to the New Canaan High School website. And there you go, Ann. You're now a co-host.
Oh, great.
So, good. You've got power now.
Go for it.
Let me share it now.
So our dog and pony show clearly needs to be fed. So here's the school counseling webpage, and you can see on the right-hand side, there's the Twitter feed. Where there's really a lot of very, very good information. You can find that information also on the New Canaan High School's general webpage too. And Mr. Egan does a marvelous job also of curating a lot of information there. And also we're on Facebook as well. So, and on the left-hand side, you will see a whole list of wonderful things, but up top is the college visit calendar. And if Ann were to open that, and if she would go to, I don't know, I think October 12th has maybe a date on it, you'll be able to see that for seniors, all of these colleges are listed. But for example, on October 12th, Ann, if you could just stop right there, at 8 p.m., you'll notice it says George Washington University, NYU, Northeastern, SMU. I will post whenever I receive information about a road trip. Colleges will travel together virtually, and they will hold their information sessions together. This is the best opportunity for a virtual experience that where you can get a lot of information and meet reps through these opportunities for colleges that have joined forces, because they overlap in applications, meaning that if you put one of them on a list, you probably will put another one on the list. So anytime you see a Zoom link with a college's name on the college visit calendar, then you know it's appropriate for your junior. So that's the first thing. I will talk about virtual trips, virtual road trips where you'd never leave your house. Colleges have really found that during COVID, these things worked enormously well and really cut down on their budgets as well. So I think your kids really need to participate in these visits to get a first glimpse look at the college, and perhaps at some other point junior year, the college will be open. Certainly after November, I hear pretty much admissions offices will be open again for tours. This is a great way to get some information about colleges and see what they are offering, and also to see how good their online resources are, which I think is actually very telling about the college in general. So that is a great way of getting online information. If a college is not posted on this calendar, just go to the college's admission site and it will tell you whether they have virtual opportunities or not. For those of you who have already visited colleges, good on you. You can start locally. You could go to Fairfield U, you could go to Yale, you could go to NYU. At this point, early in junior year, your student is trying to determine size, location, whether they want taxi cabs or cows. They're trying to get a feel for a college campus and the academic offerings on that campus. So if you are physically able to go visit the college, you can be your child's secretary at this point and sign up for the college visit on their website. You're going to use your child's proper legal given name, because from henceforward, everything that has to do with college, whether it's signing up for an SAT or an ACT or entering your name on a college website's mailing list, you want the proper legal given name. That's how you're going to be applying to college. Your child will apply with that proper legal given name. So you sign up on the website for a visit. Say you're going down to Pennsylvania and you're going to hit Lafayette and Lehigh and Franklin and Marshall, maybe on a weekend. You make sure that your student pops a notebook in the car and you go on the visits. You'll do probably an information session that lasts for an hour. You will do a tour that will last for an hour. And I would advise you also to find a place on campus to grab a bite to eat, maybe pick up the campus newspaper so that you can get information that perhaps was not on the tour and not in the information session. And you enjoy the experience. And when you get back into the car, you let your child make notes in the notebook and you don't say anything besides, well, that was a good walk. You wait. Your teenager's brain needs to digest this information and you need to hold your opinions at bay.
I totally agree with that, Sue.
There'll be time for sharing opinions later. You'll get some information, physical information when you go on these tours. You'll probably get a view book, maybe something else. But really, your child is in the thinking mode now, and you're in the thinking mode now. There was an interesting article in a Boston College alumni magazine 2 years ago that after a tour and an information session, 90% of all questions asked at the information session were asked by parents. And that's because your children don't want to embarrass themselves. They would prefer not to even walk next to you as you walk around these tours. So it is, it's fine. If you have questions during the info session, certainly ask them. But back off your child for a while. Let them digest the information. Remember, they are 15, 16 years old, trying to figure this stuff out. And they don't really want to be falling in love with any of these schools right at the moment. They're just dating. And hopefully by the end of junior year, that notebook will have a lot of incredible information. Since you signed up for the visit, you will start to receive information from that college. Your child will. Nowadays, also, the colleges also want to know your child's cell phone number. That's a discussion that you should have with your child beforehand, because are they going to want to receive information from the college via text? I would suggest that no would be the right answer, because Texts are hard to keep on top of, and also hard to maintain the record of that communication. So I would say stick to email. And that brings up another point. You have two choices. Recently, the seniors asked me what was the way to be successful in the senior year college application melee. And I said the most easiest way to be successful is to check your email. Kids don't do it. They don't check their email. They barely want to hear from their parents via text. So checking email is arduous. And we send them a lot of information via text. So there's two choices that you have here. You can help your child curate their emails by showing them the filter system. And I can put probably maybe in the weekly Ramagram update a little note about that if that would be helpful. And the other way you can do it is by setting up a college Gmail account, susancarrollcollege@gmail.com. The problem with that is it's another email account. So your child probably has their personal email account, their New Canaan High School account, and now we're putting a third account. But it is a way of having all of the information in one location regarding college. Because if there's anything that needs to come out of junior year and the college process, it is organization. Okay, so you can decide which one of these things happens, discuss it with your child. And if they say, let's have a separate account, then have your child set up a separate Gmail account. It will take them 2 seconds to do so. So you're going to be on the college list getting information. Some of it will be view books in the form of actual snail mail, and the rest will be emailed to your child. Probably by the time May or June strolls around, you will have collected a lot of information, physical information. And it's a good idea to sit down with your child at that point around the dining room table and say, what schools did we like? What schools did you not like? Throw out all the materials from the schools that really aren't going to stay on the list, and keep the other stuff. I mentioned before that you really should back off your child for a while as they are discerning this information. It doesn't hurt probably a week or two after the fact to say, gosh, that trip to Pennsylvania was fun. What did you think of Franklin and Marshall? What did you think of Penn, whatever the school is, and have a conversation, but be a listener rather than a talker. Because senior year, when the list gets much more narrow, is a time to really have some of these conversations. And that pretty much takes care of the actual visit. It's a good time to figure out, you'll be wowed. If you haven't been on a college campus in a couple of years, you're going to be wowed by what's available to your children. You probably will be wowed by the fact that you will be also paying anywhere from $65,000 to $80,000 for that experience. So you be discerning, let your child be discerning, but most of all, without sounding ridiculously sentimental, enjoy the time in the car with your kids. It is the best opportunity in the world to get to know the adult that they are becoming. And I think Anne is going to take it up now with a little bit about testing.
Okay, so everyone hopefully signed up for the PSAT, which will be October 16th. And that day, Saturday, that students will need, it starts at 7:30. They need to arrive by 7:30. They need their license, their calculator, and their school ID or a license, if they have a license. It'll be 2 hours and 45 minutes that morning. Later on, when the scores are available, that will be December. And the students will be getting an email from the College Board, and they should open that email and sign up with a College Board account. And at that point, they will be given a link to the Khan Academy which is a test prep online, and it is free. And it's excellent. I think there are about 20 hours of practice problems and tests. So I highly recommend that students do that. They can go on a couple times a week. This would be, in my opinion, in addition to a class. I know most of those classes have homework, and the homework is very important for preparing for the SAT, as is going on the Khan Academy. So the SAT, based on the PSAT scores and correct and incorrect answers to their individual test, the Khan Academy will build an individualized test prep plan for each student, focusing on the questions that they got incorrect. So they get to practice those questions where they really need more practice. And then when the SAT comes, there's going to be an in-school SAT in March. Every year, the Connecticut State SAT is given to juniors at no cost. So that will be in March. And as far as my personal opinion is, when the PSAT comes back, that's the time to start studying for the SAT. I really prefer for juniors, because their academic work is so much more important than the SAT. I really prefer that they use that first semester of junior year to do their very best in their classes. And then around December, for most students, start studying for the SAT. So you have January, February, and part of March to take courses and really focus on the SAT in addition to the academic classes. I get a little concerned about students who are taking SATs or ACTs so early, like now, because I believe what they're thinking is that those tests are more important than your academics. And that's simply not true. And even for next year, still many colleges are going to be score optional for next year's seniors. But even without that, not even considering score optional, they should always put their first effort into their academics. And if SAT prep takes the place of doing really good work in their academics, then I would say cut back on the SAT work. Does that make sense? Okay. All right, so there are a couple of questions, by the way.
Yeah, I just saw one, and yes, if your child receives accommodations, they arrive at the same time. And also, it is a good time for your child to advocate for themselves. So as they're checking in, they should simply say to the person checking them in, I receive accommodations. And they will be sent to a room where their accommodated students are in that room. So this will be the same thing that would happen on a real ACT or the real SAT. Okay, so yes, they arrive at the exact same time. And also I saw a couple about college visits. The college visits right now, because of size limitations, are for seniors only. We did that last year as well. So the colleges that come to New Canaan High School, and we're very blessed by the marvelous list, really don't want to be talking to juniors here at the moment. They are really getting ready to answer questions about students who are in the application process. So juniors, it's more appropriate that they go to a visit either virtually on a weekend, for example, or an evening, or visit the campus. The reps that come to New Canaan High School really want to talk to seniors at this point. And I think that was a bunch of the questions.
Mm-hmm.
All right, so we're gonna move on a little bit more. A little plug for October 14th, which is financial aid night. As I mentioned, colleges seem to be only getting more expensive. And I was smiling to myself the other day, because probably on my 16th or 17th college visits so far, only one college has mentioned actually how much the college costs. Seems like nobody else even wants to talk about it. So as the visit is ongoing on my iPad, I am Googling, gee, the cost of attending, for example, University of Michigan this morning, which is now $73,000 for an out-of-state student, $73,000. So I would advise you to start early and take a look at Financial Aid Night, which will be on Zoom. The presenter, Bill Smith, is marvelous, and you will get a lot of good information. But I also will urge you to start talking to your child as you start to discern some of the information put forth by colleges, to have a conversation with your child about how you are paying for that college. On the road to adulthood, financial literacy is really important, and you are missing an opportunity if you don't share with your child that you've been saving since you found out you were pregnant with that child, or that grandparents are going to help out, or you know what, we are going to be applying for financial aid. And so maybe we take these colleges sort of off the list that we're just starting to think about. And maybe we add other colleges, perhaps maybe there's merit scholarship available. So it's important that you start including in the conversation about what do you think you want to study? It's how we're going to pay for this also. I think it would be wrong. Ann and I have older kids, and this is a conversation that we had with our own kids. I think it's very, very important and a missed opportunity if you don't do it.
Sue,
Also,
I do think we have a couple other questions just regarding the college visits to campus. People are wondering, what does that really look like? What are the reps talking about with the seniors? Do parents, are they allowed to come as well, or is it just for the students? What really goes on at those?
It's just for the students. They're about half hour, 40 minutes long. Students miss half of class to attend them. And there's a lot of discussion about what the application requirements are, what the application would look like, what's new on campus, either physically or program-wise. And at this point, because the seniors are more mature, they have a marvelous opportunity to ask very targeted questions of the rep. For example, what about aerospace engineering? How easy is it to transfer into the business school? Questions that are very specific to what their needs are in senior year. And the reps are lovely. And the best part of it is that the reps 90% of the time are the first read of the student's application. So your students, the juniors next year, will have the same opportunity for these colleges to interact with the college reps on this level.
And I'm guessing that they're just for students, not for parents as well.
They are just for students, yeah.
Okay. I'm just checking our questions just to make sure we're covering everything.
Sure.
The other thing that we're wondering about is since some schools are saying that tests are optional, what do you think is a good way to have our students stand out given the rigor of the NCHS curriculum and how challenging it is to score well at our school? How are ways to explain that or have our students stand out on an application?
Can I answer that, Sue?
Sure.
Absolutely.
In senior year, we're going to work with seniors very closely with gathering information to put in their recommendation. The counselor recommendation, part of the reason for the recommendation is to explain the transcript and explain the environment where the student is attending. So what is our high school like? Is this a great rigorous schedule for a senior at our high school or a junior? We go over the transcript in detail in those letters. The other thing that is sent to college is our high school profile, which will give, most high schools don't rank anymore, and we don't rank, However, we do provide a graph, a histogram of the grade point averages, weighted and unweighted, in their class. We also provide their SAT scores, or the SATs, I think, for the class before them, to give colleges an idea of the type of students and rigor at our high school. Does that answer that
Yes.
question?
I think so. Also, we have one person wondering, let's see here. Some of the schools do not offer weekend tours. Can you discuss this? So Bucknell and Colorado College come to mind. So they're just wondering, do they have to take a school day, and how is that looked on by teachers? Do we need a special note to go to college visits when we're missing class? Questions like that.
Christy, you want to take that?
Sorry about that. I was reading the other questions. Can you just summarize real quick?
Yeah. How
Oh, sure.
If a junior wants to go visit Bucknell on a Thursday and want to take Thursday and Friday off for these college visits, will they be excused? And how does the student get permission to do that?
Absolutely. So, we encourage students to visit college campuses. So just as they would for other absences, just making sure they're communicating with the attendance office as well as their teachers, and you can even, as a grade level administrator, I'd love to just kind of be copied on that email, just so I'm aware if any questions arise, but absolutely that's supported and encouraged.
Great. And also, Christy, what about for the college visits? If someone isn't listed on the calendar as a virtual visit and they're coming in, does that mean they're coming in person? I guess that's
No.
for Sue.
Yeah,
No.
that would be, I would say 60% of our visits this year are in person, 40% are via Zoom. For example, the Michigan visit that I just finished was with seniors, and it was a virtual Zoom visit. So the kids still come into my office as if it's just that the talking head is on the screen now instead of in person.
Okay, great. Now, do they need to sort of talk to the office before they go to those as well?
No.
Or how does that?
No, they have to ask the teacher's permission. The visit is strategically scheduled in the middle of class when a mass break would start, and they leave the mass break and come into the College and Career Center, where we take attendance, and that attendance is given to the attendance office.
Great.
So the current juniors will go through this again next year, but hopefully all the visits will be in person next year.
Okay, thank you.
All right, so we're going to also talk a little bit about interviews. Students often are offered interviews when they visit college campuses, and there will be an interview workshop right before April break that we'll do here in the College and Career Center to start to polish your students for interviews. I hate that they're even called interviews, because they should just be called conversations. And your kids are excellent at conversation, maybe not as good as at interviews. So we sort of have to change the mindset a bit. When interviews occur more in earnest, which happens senior year, then I'm happy to do one-on-one mock interviews to help your children prepare for those interviews, or as I said, conversations. Okay. So again, if anyone needs help with that, they just need to come into the College and Career Center. If they want to interview before the workshop in April, that usually doesn't happen, but if it does, I'm happy to work with your student. So that kind of help is available. And then I think, Ann, you want to talk a little bit about the rest of what's going to happen junior year for parents and students alike?
Definitely. So in January, every year we have a junior parent night. And that's where junior parents meet with their child's counselor as a group. And we go over the whole, everything you need to know about applying to college is really what it's about. And parents are welcome to ask lots of questions at that meeting. It will probably be on Zoom this year as it was last year, and it worked out just fine. Actually, I found that even more parents could attend because of the ease of having it on Zoom. So that happens, it's usually around January 10th. And you'll get an idea of the whole process for junior year and then some of senior year. We then have a Naviance workshop in February. That is where two of myself and another counselor will go over how you can use Naviance to figure out where to visit, where to apply based on the scattergrams that are available on Naviance. And a lot of parents like that workshop because it gets down to the details of things that they're working on right now. For example, if you've heard of Wash U in St. Louis. Gosh, I'd love to go back to St. Louis. Let's go see Wash U. Well, you don't want to make that trip unless you look at the scattergrams. And you'll see out of several applications over 3 years, there are probably only 2 students who are admitted. And the rigor required to get into Wash U is very, very high. So you might say, well, let's visit somewhere else, for example. So, I mean, those are really important when you're figuring out where to travel to visit colleges. So February, again, that's at night on Zoom, I'm sure this year. And then also in February, beginning of February, the counselors meet with each of their students with the parents for their junior meeting. And that's where we get an idea of what your thoughts are, where your student is thinking of going to college, how much research will be involved in figuring out which colleges are appropriate. So we go over the whole thing based on just your student. And we start a relationship at that point. Because with the application process, it really is a full year. And there are things that happen along the way, step by step, and you don't have to worry about everything at once. You can look at it as step by step, and you can get through it in a very reasonable way with the sort of a teamwork of your child's counselor and parents. And it's all of us working to help your child. So every junior gets one of those junior meetings. Of course, they're able to come in anytime with questions about the college process, about courses, everything. But that's just like the start of the process. And most people have done some research by then. And we ask students to develop an initial college list before that appointment. We have a game plan on Naviance for the student to complete, which is really, really helpful for the counselor so that we can have a heads up on what colleges we might want to suggest. And we will give your child information about those specific things at a connections meeting in December when we talk about the PSAT. So I think it's December 15th, the connections meeting for juniors.
And also in December, Jeff Salingo, on December 2nd, Jeff Salingo will be coming back through the good kindness of the New Canaan High School PFA. Thank you. And he has written an amazing book. He visited us last year virtually and will be doing it again this year. He has a lot of great information and insight and advice to the college admissions process that I think especially junior parents will find very, very helpful. He wrote the book right before the pandemic, and two of our school counselors just heard him speak, and they asked him, if he would have changed that book in any way the book is called Who Gets In and Why. He said, yes, I would have added a chapter on broadening the scope of the colleges kids apply to. That colleges, and it's especially true at New Canaan High School, there seem to be these 50 colleges that kids glom onto when there's 3,200 colleges in the US that are pretty amazing. So a little bit nod of advice before we hear Mr. Salingo speak, which would be to widen your scope, and your guidance counselor can help you do that.
I also want to mention, thank you, Sue, for that. I would like to mention also in May, after the APs are all finished, AP testing is finished, the counselors go into health classes and for juniors and get them started on the Common App. And we'll go over the Common App in great detail. And it's only a time for them really to get started and to become familiar with the Common App. There are a lot of pieces that you can complete in May. Some pieces you can complete. You can understand what questions they're asking for their essay. But a lot of it, it's my recommendation to them that some of those questions that come up, we call short answer questions or supplementary questions. Those really come out August 1st. So I always caution students, wait until August 1st to answer those questions because the questions change. The Common App goes down at the end of July. The colleges upload all of their new information, their new requirements, and new essay questions or short answer questions. So August 1st is the time to go and make sure you have your colleges in there, whatever you're looking at the time, and look at the questions that they're asking for that year. And at that time, they can get started with those. So we explain all of that in that session in May. So all the students will already have a Common App account set up before they go home for the summer.
Which is awesome.
Yeah, it really is.
And at that time also, the kids at that May session will also be encouraged to start to think about two teachers to ask for recommendations for the following fall.
Right.
So that will be covered then also.
Right. And actually, this is the time, not now, but say around the time that you come in for the junior appointment. At that point, it's a good time for students to really think about who they're going to ask, because typically juniors, the junior class teachers are the ones who write the teacher recommendations. So at the time when your student is in one of their classes, say their junior English class, that's the time to ask that teacher if that's a teacher that your student really gets along with well and likes the class. That's the time to ask if that teacher will write the recommendation. And then they get in touch again senior year.
And I think that's it. I think we've given you an exhaustive look at the year ahead. But for now, hopefully you're just going to take it one day at a time or one college at a time. And again, you're really looking just for a discernment on your child's behalf of what they're looking for. You can do searches on the College Board account, for example, searches by major. You can use Google. Your student can use Naviance if you need the names of colleges to visit. I'm happy. I'm an email or a phone call away, and I'm happy to give you a few suggestions, as is your guidance counselor, of course. But right now, it almost doesn't matter the specifics of the college. You want to get a general idea to be comfortable with what the college looks like, how big the college is, where is it located, and then get more specific as the year goes on.
That's right.
So we hope that we've been helpful. Please, whatever questions you might have, we're happy to answer.
Yeah, I think there's another question about the ACT. People are wondering, is there a chance to take a practice ACT with the NCHS? Is there any sponsored NCHS ACT testing? What do we do if one of our kids wants to do ACT?
Yeah, we offer the ACT here, and the
Okay.
testing calendar is published every month in the Ramagram.
Okay.
And we offer, I think it's 3 ACTs and 3 SATs, maybe 4 SATs, since we have the state one. Again, those dates are published. We don't offer the practice ACT, but here's the thing. When the SAT was changed, when David Coleman became the president of the SAT, of the College Board, they changed it to a curriculum-based test as opposed to a reasoning test. The ACT always was a curriculum-based test. So actually the PSAT is helpful in practicing for the ACT as well.
Okay,
There are
great.
also practice ACTs offered by some test prep organizations.
Correct. You just have to Google Revolution Prep, Kaplan, Summit. They all offer practice ACTs. And you
Oh,
all
I
know
see.
there are no longer any essays on the SAT. There are no longer subject tests on the SAT. So actually, for the class of 2023, with most colleges remaining test optional and less testing happening, there's actually, it's not a bad time to be looking at colleges. There's a few benefits, I think, from this strange time.
Yeah.
People are also wondering, is there a cap on the number of kids that can attend a virtual visit or a on-site visit from the reps of the schools?
I feel like I've gummed you all up as far as these visits are concerned, because you're really talking about something that's for seniors.
Okay.
So the visits, there's a cap on, if you have a senior and you just want to know this information, there is a cap on how many people we can fit into a room with COVID and keeping our guidelines, of course. We haven't run into any problems yet. So we have UConn coming in the Wagner room at the end of the week, and we'll probably have 50 or 60 kids at that visit. But you can stroll up to stores also with your junior and visit there. So again, the visits that are on unless you see a Zoom link, not that it says virtual, but a Zoom link, those visits are for seniors only, and your children will have that opportunity next year.
Okay, great. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Did we answer? Can you hear me?
Yeah.
Did we answer the question about, someone was asking again, the date of the Naviance workshop for parents in February?
I don't know the date quite yet,
Okay.
but we will be posting that in the counseling update. That actually, when we went on the counseling website earlier, where it said information for freshmen, sophomores, juniors, seniors, that comes out at the beginning of every month. And I actually think it's a good idea. And obviously you go on and look for juniors. We give a couple of months in advance for all of these things. So that date will be in probably by November. It'll be in that update. I also recommend, why not look at senior information and get an idea of what your kids will be doing next year at this time, see what's coming up. So that's there. And we hope that everybody goes on the school counseling website each month. Beginning October 1st, everything was posted there for this month and starting into November. We try to go a couple of months ahead. But yeah, usually it's in mid-February before our February break.
Well, that's great. Thank you. I want to also encourage people to look at the PFA website. We've got the meetings that we have upcoming always listed, and also there's archives of the recorded meetings from last year, and we'll have the recorded meetings from this year. So if anyone wants to rewatch something or get a better idea of something, there's more information there as well.
And on the school counseling website, we have the video presentations that took place 12 months ago. Actually, right now, we still have the financial aid presentation from last year. It's posted, and all of the parent presentations are posted.
Great. Thank you. I'm just trying to look through the questions, make sure there are any. Is there any thought about test optional lasting longer? There were some end dates given for when test optional might not be continued by some schools. People are wondering if it'll probably extend into our application time and how we'll know.
I think it will extend into the class of 2023. I think also parents think way more about testing than colleges think about testing. And,
So true.
you know, I've been doing this for a really long time, and I'm telling you, except for very few schools, for example, Georgetown, colleges sort of glance at the test scores, and they don't put as much weight on it as parents, I think they do, or as kids think that they do. And that's why test optional was not such a big deal for a lot of colleges, because they didn't really care about the testing that much to begin with. You know, you have colleges now like Bates, who has 30 years worth of information about being test optional, 30 years. You know, Holy Cross, Wake Forest, these schools that have been test optional for a really, really long time. So I think it's great if you're a good test taker, you know, then go ahead. If your child tests and your child's scores are above the school's 50%, which you can see on Naviance, then send those scores. But if they're not, don't worry about them. And there are kids I know that 50% of Vanderbilt, for example, 50% of the kids that applied to Vanderbilt last year did not submit test scores. Of that 50% that did not submit test scores, 50% of all incoming freshmen at Vanderbilt didn't have test scores. So again, I think what's going to happen, and Anne, you can agree with me, I hope.
Yeah.
This current freshman class is probably, at least nationally, 40% of them didn't present test scores. So depending on how the freshman class does this year, if they are able to achieve the same GPAs as those that had test scores, then colleges are going to say, we didn't need them at all. They're going to go bye-bye.
Yeah.
So that's my thought about test scores. Again, you know, your child should take them seriously. You sit, you take the test. The SAT is our state test, but don't worry about it so much. The GPA, the rigor of what they're taking in high school, their course selection, 100% more important.
Got it. We're back to one question about visits, and I know now that the virtual visits and all the high school on-site visits are for seniors, so we don't have to worry about that till next year. The question is, if we are attending college visits in person, that we know is recorded, but will they track also who attends the high school visits? And is that as important as if we go to the college visit in person, do we need to go to the high school site visit as well?
Okay, so I think I'm hearing a question really about demonstrated interest. And
yes,
not all colleges really care about whether you come to their campus or not, because they already have 112,000 applications a year. So they really aren't being mindful of this. They do care about how good their marketing is, though. So sometimes schools will collect, for example, University of Michigan today, they had a QR code for kids to sign up for to say that they were at the visit, but that they don't really care. It doesn't play into the application process. They're doing it to see how far reaching their marketing is. And in fact, every time, if you go to Notre Dame's website, your student goes to Notre Dame's website and maybe clicks on the engineering page and maybe clicks on the football page, Notre Dame is collecting that information. So I think for a physical college visit on a college campus, again, you want to sign up for it, get on their mailing list. for a virtual visit that the college has produced, certainly you have to sign up for that, and they're collecting. There'll be a little notice about cookies, and they're tracking that attendance. For the high school visits that are open to seniors, some colleges will ask for a child to use an online sign-up link, and others will not because they simply do not care. Does that pretty much cover it?
Yes, I think
Really,
so.
the value of the visits, and I recommend visits for late junior year, early senior year. But the real value of those visits is, as Sue said earlier, taking notes, putting them in a notebook. Those notes will be used later on for those short answer questions. So taking notes is key. And that's really by taking notes and showing why that college is the one you want, why it's a good fit. That will enhance the application later on when you answer those questions very specifically for each college and get to know each college well. That's when the value of visiting will come out.
Great.
There's just a question about whether if you don't send scores, you know, by our zip code, maybe colleges know that we would be a place that actually offered testing, especially because we have a state test being the SAT. I don't think, again, you might be thinking too much about this. And I think overthinking is something that we as parents do very well when, when college is thought about. I think that if you don't send scores, you don't send scores and they move on. For example, I was listening to how Georgia Tech even reads an application. The very last thing they look at is a test score. And if it's not there, it's not there. So they've become very skilled at this. And again, if you are a school applying to a school that has 75,000 applications, I'm telling you that the rep is not spending 35 minutes wondering why your student didn't submit a test score. They're moving on. Okay.
To move on after about 20 seconds.
Yeah, about 20 seconds. So, so I would not, again, I don't mean to make light of it, but I would not worry so much about test scores. The curriculum and the transcript and being a solid citizen and a kind person matter way more because they're looking for people to populate their campus.
Right.
And so they're looking for solid citizens who are going to be in their band, act on their stages, volunteer in their communities. And it doesn't matter for those people what their test scores are.
Right.
Great, thank you. Okay, well, I guess we are getting to the end of our time, and it does sound like we've covered a lot about testing. So I appreciate your time today, Sue and Anne. Thank you so much for coming. We will have more meetings throughout the year where we'll cover other topics again in further depth, but I think the college road trip was helpful and a lot of us will probably be doing that a lot this year. So thank you so much.
It was our pleasure. And again, if we can be helpful in any way, email us or call us, pick up the phone if you have a question. There aren't any stupid questions. And believe me, if there were, I've heard them all. So, so don't, really, if you're wondering about something, you have great guidance counselors. Oh my gosh, you all are so lucky. Your children are so blessed. And, a lot of resources here. So certainly if you have a question, ask it. Okay. If you have the question, I guarantee somebody else does too. It was nice to be with you all.
Yes, you too. Thank you so much. Have a good
Take
day.
care. Have a great
all.
day, everybody.
Bye-bye.